Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm at the May 2024 Metal Investor Forum in Vancouver. I'm here with Doug Ramshaw. He's the president of Minera Alamos. This is a deal I've owned, well, pretty much since Doug got involved with it. It's a miner in Mexico. As a lot of you may know, the last year was pretty tough on mining in parts of Mexico because they had very, very severe drought conditions. Thankfully for everybody, not just the miners, we're through that now. Doug came to MEF to talk to us about how they're ramping up again at their Santana mine, and to give us some updates on permitting on the sort of the two other mining projects right now that they've got in the pipeline. So, what do things look like now with the production profile with what you're doing right now today?
Yeah, I mean, we just started the mining of a 25,000 ounce mining sequence for the next 12 months. So that's more gold than has been mined in any 12-month period since we started up Santana. So it's a step change. We set the bar pretty low last year, but that was a decision we made to scale back things, to protect the balance sheet. So we're in a strong position now with conditions becoming more favorable to push things forward. And I would do those same things again. Like I know investors, I think I said to you earlier today, like if you're a drilling company and you've got an exploration company, you have 10 drill rigs going, no one wants to see you announce that you're going back to one drill rig. And similarly on a production side, people want increasing production. They don't want you to do it, but it was the right decision. It's allowed us to maintain this kind of $20 million working capital position that we can lever off now to expand, and it's meaningful. It might seem like such a modest amount of gold production, but when Santana's been in production, like it's a sub-1,000 AISC type operation, and so the cash generation from that is incredibly meaningful for us.
Yeah, so I mean, at a couple thousand ounces a month, it's real money. It's a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, and now you've got two other projects. I mean, you got more than two, but in terms of mining pipeline, if you will. Mm-hmm. Next up would be Cerro de Oro. I mean, what can you tell us about how things are going there?
Yeah, it's in permitting. I think that if you were to look at Mexico as a whole and ask 100 people, kind of a game of Family Feud, where they could put an X on the map and build a new open pit gold mine, northern Zacatecas would be the top answer. It's this incredible flat ground there. It's kind of almost like the basin and ranges of Nevada, right? Mm-hmm. So lots of flat ground. We're permitting for twice what that PEA case was. It was why we took about a year longer on surface rights. It made sense to have all the surface rights we needed to permit about 120 million tons of pad capacity. Well, the resource right now is only 60 million tons. So it sends a message what we think is the upside there. So that's all going well. We had 100% community support, local municipality support, and we've got support in the state government level as well. But we're obviously up against this backdrop of lots of political noise, which is amping up now in an election year. Open pit bans and stuff like that. It's absurd, but I understand why it gives people pause. The reality is, Sermonat that handle these permit requests, I think because we're mining investors, we think of Sermonat almost like a mining body, but it's not. It deals with all manner of industrial permitting, and there are condo developments in Mazatlan that are completely stalled right now, waiting on Sermonat paperwork. It's not because there's a countrywide condo ban. Right. So I think we just need to see someone get something somewhere, just to give people peace of mind. So what we did was at least give our shareholders peace of mind that upon receipt of those permits, there wasn't going to be any, oh shit, now how are we going to build this? We've got a funding package in place, so we can very quickly, on what's a 6-month construction window, get Cerro de Oro up and running upon the receipt of permits. There's sometimes a window during the elections themselves where civil servants are cleaning up files and you start to see some stuff move.
Yeah.
We have seen a bit of a move from AMLO's heir apparent, Ms. Claudia Sheinbaum, recently up in Sonora, extolling the virtues of Mexico's copper and lithium deposits. Well, those aren't underground deposits, right? And so I think we will see a moderating of that stance. It's our view. We're buyers in Mexico. We think Mexico will revert to the mean. It's not turning into Venezuela. It's just too important of an industry. And so, and open pits are a big portion of that. So I think the CEO of Agnico recently said, you know, in regards to open pit mining bans, it goes, well, technically that would stop aggregate mining and the like, which means, you know, your infrastructure can't be built. But and he highlighted it's an election year. So expect it. We'll see it in Canada. We'll see it in the US. We'll see it in the UK. The noise just amps up.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that's worth noting, I mean, okay, obviously the permitting situation has to be dealt with. You wouldn't know it from Doug's haute couture, but he's actually very cheap, and so is his partner Darren. It always boggles my mind how low the capex numbers are that you guys put together. But in this case, you've got the financing. You got the financing package already. That's already done. Yeah,
and I think the beauty of these projects as well in the open pit heap leach, if you think of the Cerro de Oro PEA, which was, you know, $25 to $28 million capex, depending on how much contingency you want in there. Over the 8-year life of that PEA study, there's only $14 million of sustaining capital. So that operating cash flow that you're going to be printing, you know, is largely going to be free cash because you've got maybe a couple of $1 million of sustaining capital a year. So the cash, and we ran that model at $1,600 gold. I mean, if gold stays at these levels, the numbers are positively cartoonish in terms of that, which is great for us because we have perfect projects to say, okay, we're going to invest and grow this thing organically. And the problem with our sector is the companies get so big that the only way they can grow is through M&A, and M&A comes with dilution, and surprise, surprise, you know, the stocks stay flat as a result. That's not the way to grow a company. So if you can look back at all those companies' histories, at one point they were in control of organic growth. That's what I think Minera offers. And, you know, yes, things have taken longer. I always say that time will test one's patience, but it doesn't test the balance sheet the same way. You know, we've seen single asset developers of bigger projects that have big capex overruns. The only way that those capex overruns were met was with shareholder dilution. Like, I'm very proud of the limited dilution we've had. It's surprising when you own a lot of stock, how sensitive you are, and you become like your other shareholders. If you align properly, you know, you think properly as well. And so, yeah, we are very capital conscious because if you blow that capital, it can only be replaced one of two ways. And one of them is very painful on shareholders. And it's why we made the decisions we did last year to protect that balance sheet.
Well, I guess I mean, to me, presumably the part of the implication of low capex, you know, assuming you're not going that route by going back to, you know, prehistoric Egyptian construction methods, $25 million capex to me implies relatively quick build. Would that be fair?
It's about a 6-month build at Cerro de Oro. Because
that's pretty fast.
Well, I mean, Cerro de Oro is blessed by the strip ratio is absurd. Life of mine, it's 0.3 to 1, but I think in year one it's 0.1 to 1. So, you know, every 10 tons out of that pit, and 1 goes to the waste dump. I think 6 tons go run of mine to the pads, and 3 go through 2-stage crushing because they're slightly higher grade, and you want to maximize the recoveries of them. So, you know, really what you're doing in a construction like that, it's a bigger version of our carbon plant at Santana. It's maybe $3 million on that. We're going to do 400,000 square meters of first phase of pad. So that's another 8 or so million in CapEx. And the rest is really your earthworks and other stuff. So there isn't a huge amount of construction needed. I think with what we've put in terms of permit applications for all this pad capacity, you won't be waiting on permit amendments with Cerro de Oro, because there'll be phases of pad expansion, but they're not tied to permit amendments. I think sometimes I've made this point. I feel bad in many ways for our operating team, because I think people think, well, why are they needing permit amendments at Santana or whatever? It wasn't by design. When we merged with Corex, when we first talked about this, the process had started with Corex, and Darren kind of inherited that.
Right.
And in a normal government situation, these permit amendments would be relatively quick and easy. And unfortunately, it's kind of exposed. But I think good teams, the way we're permitting Cerro de Oro is a typical Darren way of permitting things. Right. He inherited someone else's one, so we've been we've been bootstrapping permitting whilst bootstrapping a mine. It's complicated things, but Cerro de Oro will be a different beast.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Minera Alamos, MAI on the venture, MAIFFQB, I believe it is. QX in the U.S. Great management team, really good model for the sector. We've had some permitting hiccups. If you're willing to see past that, I think the timing's quite good to be a shareholder of the company, because these guys have delivered, and I think once things are back on track with the permitting, and they're back on track now with water and in Sonora, this is a team that can really deliver, and perfect setup for this sort of gold market. So, Minera Alamos, MAI, go take a look. Thanks very much.